All right, still with me, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor David Bruno, and litigation trial attorney Rich Schoenstein. And David, I want to start with Redonda Vaught and her case. Interesting case. What they're claiming is that initially, when the Board of Nurses, the Board of Health, excuse me, looked at the case, they didn't feel anything was wrong. They didn't suspend her, didn't take her license. It was only after it became public and the prosecution went after her. She was convicted. They went back and they said, hey, wait a minute. This is a quasi-judicial process. It's double jeopardy. You can't go back and now take her license. She should get it back. Your thoughts?
Oh, wow. I'm torn on this because I'm all for second chances. And I believe everyone does and deserves a second chance. But there are certain professions out there where there's such a fiduciary, there's such a responsibility to patients. And registered nurses, one of them, doctors, lawyers. When there's a building of trust that's required in the relationship, those are the things that I have sort of problems with. But this particular case, I mean, she's got a criminal conviction, and I thought it was interesting in the story that she doesn't even intend to go back to nursing. And I just question whether or not, if she doesn't intend to go through that, she's going to have an uphill battle. She's going to have to go through hearings and things like that. I wonder if it's even worth the energy in going through the process.
Yeah, from that case, she was all about the nurse's profession. Nurses supported her. They showed up in droves in the courtroom because there were a lot of problems with the process at Vanderbilt, and subsequently they made a lot of changes and paid a large settlement to the family because of those problems. So this one's a little bit complicated. I want to go now to the Russ settlement story, Rich. What's interesting about that is not included in the suit was Alec Baldwin. Now, he's clearly the one with the deep pockets, but they didn't go after him. Probably mostly because they probably didn't feel he had anything to do with whether those real bullets got into the gun. Your thoughts on that aspect?
Yeah, well, this is an interesting case. I mean, the plaintiff was a medic, so the plaintiff wasn't shot or anything. She's saying she was traumatized by what happened on the set, and she picked some defendants, and I gather this settlement is only with one of the defendants. And as you say, she didn't sue Alec Baldwin. You know, all of that is strategy by her legal team. The choice of who to sue, who you want to make an adverse party, who has insurance, because I bet there's insurance money at play in this settlement. I don't know that for a fact, but it sounds like it to me. You know, when you talk about deep pockets, that's part of the consideration. Who's going to pay to settle this case? And somebody figured it all out and has already gotten $1 million settlement on a claim that I would have thought had some problems.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little surprised at this one. And there's still the outstanding one against two other people, the assistant producer as well as the armorer, Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. And finally, David, I wanted to ask you about the Patrick Mahomes situation. What he's asking the court is, he says, look, 4 of the witnesses in this case are my good friends. I want to be able to see them, talk to them. Maybe you can modify this order that I can't talk to them by saying we agreed not to talk about the case. As a former prosecutor, defense attorney, what do you think about that request?
Yeah, sure. For our viewers, number one, the condition in this order is upon release. And when defendants are released from custody and a certain bail or conditions are set, courts and prosecutors do not want any colluding with witnesses or intimidation. So to avoid that, courts often prohibit the contact between defendants and witnesses. So here, Mr. Mahomes is coming forth saying, well, this is an unfair prohibition. It's because not only are they witnesses, but they're my friends. They were my friends before and after. And now the court is going to have to make a decision balancing these two concerns. One is the possible intimidation of witnesses versus the friendship the defendant has with these individuals. And it will be very helpful that these friends come forward on his behalf and make public statements in front of the court, because there could be some protective orders that the court can entertain to say, well, you should not be talking about this case. Very difficult to enforce, but that would be the next step off of this general prohibition.
Yeah, and I do want to correct myself. I said Patrick Mahomes' case. It's his brother, Jackson. I want to make sure that folks know it's not Patrick. It's Jackson Mahomes, his brother. All right, gentlemen, stand by. It's time for us to take a break. Now, the jury's been delivered.